It's time for another edition of the Coach Dave Jacobs Show. It's our final edition for the 2013 football season. The season came to an end in Bartonville on Saturday in a 47-27 loss to the Limestone Rockets. And Coach Dave Jacobs, Limestone's got a pretty good fullback in this Dominic Johnson. He had a heck of a game.
Yeah, they just outmatched us physically up front. They had some big blue collar kids and they didn't do anything fancy. We were just a little light, and with what they did, they converted a lot on third down and fourth down, and that offense is 4 downs to get 10 yards, and we fought as well as we could, but we were just outmatched.
Yeah, the Johnson fullback, he had, I think, almost 300 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. But I was going to ask you, to me, there were 2 passing plays that Limestone converted. I think it might have been their only 2 completions on the day that were key points of the game. One was on a 4th down play, and they were able to get a 28-yard touchdown, and that was key to keep that drive alive for them, and they went to the air and converted.
Yeah, the touchdown, we had it covered, actually. We just didn't break on the ball. It wasn't a great throw. It wasn't a route that surprised us at all. We just didn't break on it, and that was disheartening, because that was one of the times we could have got them off the field. And we've just had trouble all year on 3rd and long, or we just haven't for whatever reason gotten teams off the field, and that's a team that we needed to get off the field. There's no question.
And their other pass completion, I think it was the only other pass completion on the day, was a reception inside the 5-10 yard line, and their receiver dropped the football, and our defensive back didn't realize it was a fumble. He thought it was just an incompletion, and they were able to recover inside the 5.
Yeah, I watched it on film, and our DB fell down and got up, and he didn't see the catch, and that ball's laying right down there in front of him. And again, there's another opportunity. If we can pounce on that, you can look back, if we knock down that touchdown pass, if we get on the ball there, right after we ran the kickoff back after their first drive, we kicked off to them and the ball's laying there on the ground. It would have been nice to get that one, but things just didn't go our way.
And then it was classified as incomplete passes, but there was some controversy whether or not Austin Turman had a couple of catches that were ruled incomplete.
Yeah, and film showed that, it looked pretty good on film, and in fact, one of the officials emailed me today and almost apologizing, but
not enough.
But those are plays you got to have in those kind of games, because again, it was kind of like the last week. We could have played better offensively and tried to outscore them, and we certainly had those opportunities, but the first quarter, we weren't on the field at all. We ran back, they went down and scored, and we ran the kickoff back, and I think we finally got the ball with 2 minutes to go in the first quarter, something like that. And, we're kind of a rhythm kind of team, and, it just took us a while to get going.
Talk about the rhythm. Generally, what I've seen when this team has the best success is when they're using the short passing game to open up the long passing game. And Billy took a couple of long shots early in the game, and they just didn't click.
Yeah, and, it was a little windy, and, Billy, he had a great career. He had a great year, and there were some things, and the game had something to do with that. When we're behind and not having the ball, there's a kind of a little sense of urgency, and maybe we're looking for a big play that we didn't really need, at that particular time. But, we ended up hitting some big plays too. But, again, we had some drop balls on key drives and some untimely penalties, and, kind of the stuff that just kind of kills you when you're in a game that you have to outscore the opponent.
And there was another play where it looked to me like it was a good reception in the end zone as Crick Kimball toe tapped the end line, and that was ruled an incompletion as well.
Yeah, and that one's close. You couldn't really tell on film because it was in that far corner, and the camera angle didn't really get down there, like it should have. I'll check the end zone copy, but yeah, there's three possible touchdowns there that was the difference in the game, really.
And the difference in the game was 20 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how close it was when you get those plays that this team really, some of the scores and the scoring averages, there's not a lot margin for error. You've really got to take advantage of the situations you're given.
Yeah, and we the last couple of weeks we've got to get better on defense. I mean, we have to. I mean, last year we led the conference in defense, and this year we're almost dead last, and for whatever reason, that I'm sure it's coaching, but we've got to get better on that side of the ball. I mean, we can't continue. I mean, against Mattoon, we gave up 500 yards passing, and against Limestone, we gave up over 400 yards rushing, and that's just too much. I mean, I like offense and scoring points, but we've got to help our team by getting better, and we as coaches we gotta really study and look at what works and really come up with some new stuff for next year to help our kids, put them in a better chance to win.
So Limestone advances on. They're a team that was in the playoffs for the first time since 2004, and they don't really have a whole lot of playoff experience. They did finish runner-up in a championship game one year, but boy, the Peoria area this past weekend, that's got to be fun when they've got all of those teams that are in the playoffs, 3 different Peoria schools, plus the 3 teams from the Mid-Illini. That's a football fan's dream to have all that going on.
Yeah, and, it's a blue-collar area, and they all run the ball, and they're all physical, and I mean, we were talking before the show about, you look at who's left in 5A. I mean, the top tier teams in that group of the 16 that are left could win any class. I mean, they're, 5A, as we've said, is the toughest of all, and with the private schools in there, and so if we're gonna advance, we've got to get a lot better.
And the Mississippi Valley Conference team did advance, the Highland Bulldogs, and they're now 10-0, and they play Limestone, and the game's going to be in Highland, and you think Highland's going to get a victory in that one? Yeah,
I do. I mean, Highland's just got too much. I mean, they'll match up with Limestone physically. In fact, they're bigger than they are, and that they'll be able to. They match up with them a lot better than we do, and. I look for Highland to get them, and especially them being at home, and that's going to be a tough environment, and for Limestone to travel down there. But I would be surprised if Highland didn't get them.
I'm surprised that I will be surprised if Highland doesn't have a sold out crowd ready to tear the place down if they can get a victory, because they'd be advancing farther than they ever have before. So I don't want to dwell too much on this past game, but we want to talk about the season as a whole, because a lot of good things happened in this 2013 football season. According to my notes, 9 records were either set or tied by individuals during the season.
Yeah, and it's time to look at stats. We'll look at stats at the end of the year, but I was really proud of our kids. I mean, coming off last year and the year that we had, and it was Mitch's team last year, and to be able to get back into the playoffs again with a different style of play, and our kids were really resilient all year, and we had some key injuries, losing Obi, for the last 2 or 3 ball games really kind of took a spark from us a little bit. But I mean, our kids fought back, and there's some great memories, the 3-game road trip and coming back, 2-2, and then we won 4 in a row, and the homecoming game and the final drive, and, the senior night, with CM clinching the playoff berth at home. And, these last 2, I mean, we're getting on a bus for 2.5 hours, and our kids played good football. I mean, they really did.
I can't imagine, someone having to do what Billy Ritchie had to do this year, stepping into the shoes of Mitch Kimball after all he accomplished and all the accolades that were bestowed upon him, deservingly so. And then Billy has a record-setting year, throwing for yardage, and he tied the record for 5 touchdowns in a game twice, and these are things that Mitch never did.
Yeah, and kudos to Billy and then his offensive line and his receivers. I mean, Billy really wanted to learn. Billy was poised. He was very coachable. He became a real student of the game, and his fundamentals, got better, and And, when he would make the wrong read or he'd throw a bad ball, he knew why, and he'd fix it and made the adjustments. And, I've got the records here in front of me. I'm just going to kind of read them down. As you mentioned, Billy, tied his own record of having 5 touchdown passes. He did that against Granite City and Triad in a game. Izzy had 9 extra points kicked against Mount Zion, which tied a record. Also, had a couple, 2 field goals in a game that tied a record. And as you stated, Billy threw for almost 2,500 yards, in a season. And that's a great job with him. Jake Varble, who, those two were competing for the quarterback job. And, Jake was really a warrior all year. He played hurt and played linebacker. He ended up punting the last game because our 2 punters were out. And, Jake set a record for most receiving yards in a season and also for, total receptions in a season. And, Billy, 27 touchdown passes. And, George Lorton, who, we talked about at the very beginning, broke the school record for sacks. And of course, we had the 70 points in one game versus Triad, which broke a school record. So, it was a record-setting year, and we had great kids. I mean, there were a lot of tears, after the game on Saturday, which means they cared, and they're hugging each other, and that's winning. That's winning right there.
Jake Varble was a guy that, I mentioned it during the game that, he'll line up as a receiver wide to the left side on one play, run all the way down the field, and say it's an incompletion. Comes back, has to switch to the other side of the field, 30-yard run to the other side of the field, run another pattern, and then come in and play defense and then play on special teams. And I don't think you called his number and he wasn't available. He was always there.
And you wonder why I can't put weight on the kid, No, like I said, Jake's a warrior. He doesn't complain. He's one of the toughest kids I've had in my 27 years of coaching. I mean, he just goes out and does it. You ask him if he's okay. He's always okay. And we need more like that, more kids like that. And, I'm really proud of Jake and what he's done this year.
Lucky for you get him back next year.
Yeah. We get a lot of them back. And, Luke Shively's another one that really had a good year and stepped in and played middle linebacker and, played some good tight end for us. And we get Crick Kimball back. And, those are kind of the big 3 of that class that have played, started as sophomores and
freshmen.
Yeah. And they played as freshmen and started as freshmen there towards the end. And, so, they've got a lot of experience, but, there's other key guys in that class that really have, really stepped up this year. And Chris Campbell, Devin Outman, Nick Howell, Jordan McQuaid, Whitey Kennedy had a great year for us. Ike Rowling did a nice job at DB. I mean, there's a bunch of them. We return 8 guys on defense back. So that's where we got to build. I kind of texted Jake over the weekend. I have the running thing, the quarterback has the keys to the program, and, Mitch had them, and, Billy took him this year, and I texted Jake and asked him if he was ready for the keys, and he responded, yes, sir. Right. He's ready to get to work right now. So that's what I expect from him. And we're going to build our offense around him.
We're going to talk a little bit about what's expected for next year, a little bit of a change in the schedule, and we'll talk about what the coach expects out of his kids in the off-season. We'll take a break on the Coach Dave Jacobs Show. It's brought to you by Sinclair Foods. Sinclair Foods has been a staple in Jersey County for many years. They're a store where you can count on quality meats, the freshest produce, and a bakery that still bakes its cakes from scratch. The small-town atmosphere is still at Sinclair's, where they still deliver groceries on Wednesday, and your groceries are bagged for you and carried to your car. On a night when you can't cook, check out delicious Champs Fried Chicken in the deli and other delicious entrees and salads. Sinclair Foods, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. The season ends on Saturday, and now the off-season begins. The kids obviously will get a break, and there's several kids on the team that are multi-sport teams. But what do you hope that the kids can do in the off-season to make them better football players next year?
Well, we've got to get stronger. I mean, and that's on me. I mean, I run the weight room, during the day, and I did some soul searching over the weekend, and we're going to change a lot of the things in the program that we do. It's going to be a lot more intense and really hold the kids accountable. And, we had a good day today. I mean, the kids really got after it today, and, that's a good sign. And, it's just we got to have a better off season. I mean, the kids, it's been 2 years we've ended our season like we've had, and they got to understand that it's not going to change unless we change, and we're going to roll up our sleeves and get after it.
In your years of coaching, have you noticed a change in the way the weight room is done? Is there more small muscle group working, or instead of just the bulk, or will you always need the bulk, and that's always going to be part of it?
Well, you want big, fast kids, we have fast ones, we just don't have big ones, and that's just genetics. I mean, they're just not big kids, there's some that are walking the hallways, but, that don't play, but they're big, for a reason. They're big because, they don't do anything. So, I think, we're definitely on the right path. And, I think once our junior Panthers, this past year, our 8th grade was the first time that the public private school kids got to play together on one team, and our 8th grade won the conference. And I think once those classes start coming through, I think our play will improve, and, just the attitude will be different and better. Having success at those lower levels is gonna spill over and carry us forward.
You talked about some of the players that participated in varsity this year, but we haven't really mentioned any kids that were JV standouts that will be varsity players next year. Are there any kids on your radar that you really got an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, our sophomores, there aren't very many. There's 13 or 14 of those guys, and there's guys that are going to come in and be good role players. Our freshman group, they both of those, both our JV and freshmen really finished the year strong. Last Saturday, they both won against Mattoon in heated games, and they finished and competed and made plays, and they were emotional and passionate. And, I'm excited about carrying those emotions, with them in the off season. And really our 8th grade group coming in is a really special group. They've got a lot of talent, and they've won, and so, I mean, there's some good things coming. And like I said, we return a lot of, this year's juniors coming back as seniors, to have a good nucleus. So, we're looking forward to keep building this thing.
Is your summer program next year going to be any different? I know it's early for you to think about things like that, but do you plan on doing similar to what you did this year?
I'm going to, we're going to spend a lot more time lifting. I'm going to concede the month of June to the other sports and really just, have our kids lifting, and they'll be doing some drills and stuff, and really kind of minimize, have our camp, basically have, 16 days of camp, go 3 weeks of 4 days in July, and kind of sell it to the kids that way, where less is more sometimes, and go in the morning and still, have a team camp where we can get away. I'm going to talk with Coach Metzler about, there's several lineman camps that, take the linemen, and like Illinois State, they do a great job with their linemen there, and just kind of keep it at, together,
compartmentalize.
Yes, thank you for that. But I mean, we're going to look at doing some different things, but really we're going to spend a lot of time on the lifting part and just keeping our strength, and because our season next year, our schedule is going to be a grind.
The schedule next year does change. You're going to lead off with not Decatur MacArthur next year, but Granite City is going to be your opening game.
Yeah, we open at home with Granite City, and then we have Mount Zion coming here. And they ended up going 3-6, but they had a really good freshman team, and their quarterback was a junior, and they had a good receiver was a junior, so they're going to return a good team. And then we go to Salem. Travel to Salem, which is part of our Apollo agreement. And then, we hit our conference, but, the way it's set up right now, 4 of our last 5 games are on the road, and that's tough. And we for whatever reason agreed to go back to Mattoon week 9. I know that they only had 3 home games, and so we agreed to go back there to help them out. But I'm not in favor of that, but I don't get to make those decisions.
So out of the 4 non-conference games, 3 of them are going to be against Apollo opponents.
Yes.
And that's similar in size to the Mississippi Valley Conference enrollments.
Oh yeah, those are the teams we need to be playing, and but again, it's going to be tough. I mean, when you got to go to Salem, which is 2 hours, and you got to go back to Mattoon, which is 2 hours. We got to go to Waterloo. We got to go to Mascoutah. So it's it's going to be a grind, but it is what it is. So we just got to get our guys ready.
The football season sort of comes to an end with a banquet. You're going to have that in a little over a week or so.
Well, November 17th. It's that Sunday, and we're going to have it at 5:00. It's going to be catered. I think it's Company B Barbecue out of St. Louis area, and we're looking forward to getting everybody together and handing out the awards and having some good food. And of course, everybody's going to want to see the highlight video that John Goldacker does, and
does a good job with that.
Yeah, he does. He works hard at it. He rode the charter bus with us to Limestone to get some extra footage, and that always makes it extra special.
And we shouldn't close out our season without mentioning Mike McInerney and his blog, his website that he does. If you don't check that out on a weekly basis, you really need to, because it's got everything Panther on there, and he does it out of his love for the Panthers.
Yeah, and Mike's a godsend. He, you just need to get on there and check out everything he's got on there. It's really good for parents because, there's stuff with their kids and schedules, and, they got links to stats and, the history of the program and records and all that stuff. I mean, the whole football program history is right there, and all the stuff current as well. In fact, you can, listen to this radio show on there with the link too. So, check it out.
And for especially parents coming into the program that didn't have older siblings, those parents of those kids can really find out about what their expectations are and what they are striving to become by going to Mike's website, and it's pantherfb.blogspot. Just do a search and you'll be able to find it quite easily. Coach Jacobs, it's been a good year, another playoff season, and we hope the best next year, and want to thank Sinclair Foods for making this all possible. Congratulations on a playoff season.
Thank you, and again, we had great kids, and appreciate everybody's support, and we're gonna keep working to keep the playoff hopes alive, and just keep getting better. I mean, it's a great place here with great kids, and we're going to continue to work and keep building this thing.
All right. Hopefully next year they'll print up sweatshirts that say back to back to back playoffs.